Rintaro is a scary-looking guy who only hangs out with a bunch of misfits to avoid being judged for his intimidating looks. However, when he meets Kaoruko, a sweet girl from a prestigious school that sees beyond his looks, he starts falling for her and decides to make her the happiest girl in the world. It was just another day for the two neighboring schools, Kikayo and Chidori, who hate each other. From Chidori, Rintaro glances out the window toward the all-girls school next door, Kikayo, and he's already used to the idea that he'll never understand what goes on over there, as the Kikayo girls always avoid the Chidori boys like they're packing STDs. One morning, Rintaro's friends, Saku, Sohei, and Ayato, start arguing with two guys from another school, and while everyone wants to avoid a fight, they blame each other for causing it. Right as tensions rise, Rintaro steps in, and just one glare from him is enough to send the other group running like they're seeing P. Diddy on the loose. He gives his friends a light scolding, but Shohei flips it, saying it was Rintaro who provoked the fight, and the thugs were actually looking for him before running away. Then, they go to school, and on their way there, Rintaro remembers that one of the thugs might have seen him during an argument that broke out near his home where a girl had done the Will Smith to her boyfriend in the street. And when Rintaro approached to check on the guy, the poor dude got spooked. His friends listen and are unimpressed, knowing that while Rintaro may mean well, with his intimidating face, most people assume he's there to sell them fentanyl. Just then, they walk past two Kikayo girls, and one girl drops her handkerchief. Sohei picks it up and tries to return it, but the girl glares at him like he's a creep and tells him to throw it away. However, despite the brutal rejection, Sohei convinces himself that she was just too shy to talk to someone as Sigma as him. They head into their plain public school building, which sits in sharp contrast to Kikayo's fancy architecture. Rintaro reflects on how different their schools are, and how the Kikayo girls absolutely hate the Chidori boys, as Chidori is infamous for being full of delinquents and idiotic morons and ranked near the bottom in academics and reputation. They hate the boys so much that the Kikayo girls even keep their curtains shut to avoid seeing the Chidori building. Just then, while scrolling on his phone, Rintaro sees a work notification. He turns down his friend's invitation to a gooning session together and heads to the cafe where he works as a Nepo baby. The rain pours as he runs to get there, and when he arrives, he asks his manager, who is also his mom, Kyoko, if it's really okay for him to deal with customers, as he's worried that his terrifying looks might scare them. Kyoko reassures him that it's fine, as there's only one customer today anyway. While everyone else is busy preparing pastries for an event, Rintaro sets up the counter and spots a wet umbrella near the entrance. He looks up and sees a cute, fun-sized girl sitting at a table, surrounded by empty dessert plates. She notices him staring and flushes with embarrassment, then starts choking hard like your mom last night. Rintaro rushes over with water, and she gulps it down and, while still flustered, thanks him for the food before running out of the cafe. That evening, while closing shop, Kyoko casually mentions that the choking girl, Kaoruko, is actually a regular. Rintaro feels guilty, afraid he scared her off, but Kyoko brushes off his concern. She insists that Kaoruko isn't the type to get scared easily and jokes that her delicious, creamy cakes can always win anyone over. The next day, Rintaro is still bothered by what happened. During lunch, he zones out, thinking about how to apologize or see her again. But when his friends ask what's wrong, he brushes them off, simply saying that he gooned too hard. After school, Kyoko bursts into his room, telling him that Kaoruko is back at the cafe and wants to see him. Still in casual clothes, he hurries downstairs, and she surprises him by offering to treat him. Then, he ends up sitting with a cake and a drink in front of him, and Kaoruko apologizes for leaving so suddenly. He tries to refuse the treat and notices her already eyeing the dessert. Silently, he slides it over to her, and she initially hesitates, but eventually gives in and eats it joyfully. Then, she explains that the day before, she hadn't planned to eat that much, as she thought she was alone and safe to indulge. But when he saw her, she got embarrassed, as she had seen him working before and had been curious about him. Right then, Rintaro realizes she hadn't run because she was scared, but she was just nervous, and she shyly admits that his presence makes her heart race. Rintaro wonders why, unlike most girls who flinch when they see Kaoruko is different. Her honesty hits him hard, and he can feel himself getting warm on the inside. Feeling nervous, he offers to walk her to the station, but she buys another cake and decides to walk on her own. Then, as she leaves, she turns and says she never thought he was scary, not even once, and her words leave Rintaro stunned, but from afar, the two thugs are watching them. Later that night, Rintaro hides in his room, reflecting on how everyone only said bad things about him. But with Kaoruko entering his life, he doesn't know how to feel. Suddenly, Kyoko barges in with the cake box Kaoruko bought that Kyoko found on the street, and Rintaro rushes out to find her, worried for her safety. He hears voices in an alley and discovers the two thugs cornering Kaoruko, wanting to do the Eiffel Tower. They talk about Rintaro and start spreading rumors about him, calling him a delinquent and saying Chidori is full of troublemakers. Rintaro listens to their words in pain, but Kaoruko pushes back. She admits that the rumors sound bad but challenges them, saying that if they spoke to Rintaro, they would see the truth of how wonderful he is. The thugs get tired of her glazing, and one grabs her, ready to do the ditty. But when he raises his fist, Rintaro jumps in, blocks the attack, and scares them off with his godly aura. Kaoruko quickly checks his bleeding head while panicking, but he reassures her it's from hitting the wall, not the guy's weak punch. Then he bows deeply, apologizing for dragging her into trouble. But Kaoruko wipes the blood from his forehead and says something he's never heard before, that she doesn't understand why people are scared of someone with such a kind soul. She rejects his apology and simply thanks him, and for the first time, something inside him wakes up, and he sees a world he has never seen before, one where he's not judged by his looks. He walks her to the station, and as they part ways, she invites him to hang out and eat cake sometime, which he agrees to. The next morning, Rintaro arrives at school early, still thinking about Kaoruko. When he looks out the window, he sees Kaoruko peeking through the Kikayo curtains, and their eyes lock before he quickly shuts the curtain in surprise, realizing that she's not just a random girl, but a Kikayo student, the arch nemesis of his school, the Juliet to his Romeo. Rintaro zones out, thinking about how the anime gods hate him for sending such a goddess into his life, only to make his life worse by making Kaoruko a student from Kikayo. While he's in the middle of his romance crisis, Shohei shows up and starts his day by complaining about how harshly the Kikayo girls have been glaring at him all morning, which tempts him into going full Jeffrey Dahmer. He expresses how he didn't have an option but to join Chidori, but Saku and Ayato show up and remind him that he's here because of his smoother-than-butter brain. They join in trash talking the hoes who go to Kikayo, and Saku strongly expresses how much he hates Kikayo after the way the girls treated them like trash, just because they lack the brain cells to answer 1 + 1, and how the two neighboring schools will never get along. Suddenly, Rintaro starts zoning out again, and his friends notice and ask about his forehead injury, but he's too deep in thought to answer. Just then, Ayato asks about the closed curtain, saying how rare it is for it to be closed. Shohei blurts out that Rintaro probably hates the girls so much that he refuses to see them. But Rintaro snaps, denying their claims quickly, which makes things awkward. His friends get confused by his behavior, and Rintaro brushes past their worries, saying that he hates the sun in his face. Still, Saku finds the whole thing strange. Later, during class, Rintaro struggles to focus, as he keeps replaying Kaoruko's face when she saw him in the classroom over and over, worrying that he embarrassed her. However, he believes that she will now stop coming to the cafe, and it's for the better that way, as Chidori and Kikayo can never get together. After school is over, Shohei invites him out. Rintaro checks his phone, and when he sees that his mom didn't ask for his help, he agrees to go with them to karaoke. They excitedly walk out of the school, ready to sing some of Baby Shark's best hits. But on their way out, they notice a crowd near the gate, looking towards someone. Out of curiosity, they go over to see the commotion and see Kaoruko standing alone outside of Chidori, clearly waiting for someone from Chidori. Rintaro turns away in shock, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, out of his pure hatred, Shohei marches up to her and intimidates her, demanding to know why a Kikayo hoe like her is there. While nervous, Kaoruko tells him that she's waiting for someone, and Shohei gets aggressive again. But before things escalate, Rintaro quickly steps in and pulls Shohei back like a mother cat carrying her kitten, scolding Shohei for scaring her and apologizing to Kaoruko. Shohei suddenly realizes that Kaoruko is waiting for someone in Chidori, which means someone in Chidori is friends with a Kikayo girl. But instead of lashing out, he tears up. saying that he's just extremely jealous that someone from Chidori actually has a girlfriend. Then, Kaoruko's friends rush over to Kaoruko, bump the boys away, and try to drag her away. The scene draws more attention towards them, and more Kikayo girls gather and whisper, saying how Kaoruko will lose brain cells being near the Chidori boys. Shohei, feeling disrespected, asks for an apology after being shoved, but one girl coldly slaps his hand away while looking at him with disgust and storms off with Kaoruko. But as she's getting pulled away, she looks back at Rintaro, feeling worried. On their way to the karaoke, while the guys are murmuring about the Kikayo girls, Rintaro is walking behind them, trying to calm himself down after what just happened. He suddenly suspects that Kaoruko was waiting for him, and while he tries to reject that idea, he can't help but realize that Kaoruko wanted to meet him. Just then, the friends turn around, and when they see Rintaro's face, they are in shock, saying how they have never seen him make that face before. But Rintaro knows the truth that what he's feeling is happiness. Still, he convinces himself that they should stop meeting. Later, the guys jam into songs, and Shohei sings out loud the Baby Shark song. Meanwhile, Rintaro is in the middle of picking a Jake Paul song when Saku suddenly calls him out for acting differently lately. He asks him if something happened to him, and points out the nasty scar on his head. He and the others ask Rintaro to talk to them if anything is troubling him, and deep down, Rintaro wants to tell them about how he met an angel in the form of Kaoruko. But when he imagines how the guys hate Kikayo girls, he pulls back and assures them that he's okay. The others believe in what he says, and Rintaro apologizes to Saku for worrying him, but Saku is still not convinced. Afterward, walking home, Rintaro sees the cafe lights still on after closing hours. He tries warning his mom about the door not being locked, but inside, he sees Kaoruko there, smiling at his arrival. She quickly apologizes for creating a scene at the school gate, saying that she doesn't truly realize the bad blood between the two schools, but Rintaro assures her that he didn't mind it and begs her to raise her head. Just then, Kyoko pops up with some leftover cakes and helps out his son, securing his future baby mama by asking Kaoruko to eat some. She tries rejecting, but her stomach betrays her by making a noise, which gets Rintaro and his mother laughing. Rintaro then asks Kaoruko to eat the cakes with him, and they sit down to do it. While Kaoruko joyfully eats the cakes, Rintaro notices just how sweet she looks while at it. She then apologizes to Shohei for getting shoved, but Rintaro assures her that he's okay. Rintaro then asks what she was doing at the school gates, and when Kaoruko tells him that she wanted to see him, Rintaro gets flustered, realizing she wanted to meet him again. She apologizes once more for creating a scene, but Rintaro, in panic, assures her it's okay, and that he was very happy when he saw her. He quickly blushes at what he said, and tries to retract his statement, but Kaoruko pleads with him not to, now knowing he was happy to see her. It causes them both to fold like a chair, and Rintaro diffuses the situation by reminding her to eat. Then, he expresses how he didn't expect her to come back to the cafe, and when she asks why, he tells her that it's because they're from two different schools that practically hate each other's guts, and that it's not good for a Kikayo girl like her to associate herself with a Chidori scum like him. However, to his surprise, Kaoruko reveals that she was actually happy when she found out that Rintaro is from Chidori. She abruptly excuses herself to leave after what she said, and before leaving, she promises that she is telling the truth, as it made her very happy to learn that they are literally next door to each other. In that moment, as Kaoruko is leaving, Rintaro sees her facial reaction, and he realizes that he just hurt her for not sharing the same happiness that they get to be neighbors. Just then, Kyoko pops up to check on them and sees that Kaoruko is already gone. But when she looks at her own son, she sees him in pain and panics. Afterward, Rintaro tells his mother what happened, and she flicks his dumb head, cursing herself for failing to teach his son basic riz. He asks her why Kaoruko would even come to see him, even though she is a Kikayo student, and his question disappoints Kyoko. She calls him out on his BS, and points out how the way he is treating Kaoruko just because she's from Kikayo is the same way people treated him horribly just because of his scary look, which hurts Rintaro a lot. She then asks him whether Kaoruko ever treated him differently when she found out he's a chopped-looking dude who goes to Chidori, and Rintaro realizes just how horrible he has been. Suddenly, he punches himself, causing himself to bleed and for Kyoko to get worried. but Rintaro looks to his mother and thanks her for the talk. Early into the next morning, Kaoruko walks to school when, to her surprise, she meets Rintaro waiting for her in front of her school gates. She asks him why he's there, and he tells her that he came early just to meet her. He then apologizes for hurting her, and Kaoruko gets flustered, realizing that she made a sad face that Rintaro saw. She then admits that while she was hurt, it was also her own selfish feelings, and she adds how kind Rintaro really is for him to look for her. Remembering how Kaoruko always had been honest with him, Rintaro wants to do the same for her. He fully admits that whenever guys from Chidori talk trash about her, he hates it, and is scared that being with him might get her in danger. However, he now wants to take back those feelings and apologizes to Kaoruko for only seeing her as a Kikayo student, and not for who she really is. He expresses how happy he is that she wants to meet him, and in that moment, Kaoruko's frown turns into a smile. She quickly stands up in high spirits and expresses how, despite their opposing backgrounds, she wants to get to know him for who he truly is. Her words leave Rintaro in awe, and it ends with him getting her number.
Finally!
Because his classroom is still empty, Kaoruko asks him beforehand to do something, and when he gets to the classroom, he follows what she asked, which is to look at her from the window across, and she jumps in joy, knowing that he's right there watching her. Some days later, Rintaro and Shohei are stuck in class, agonizing over how hot the temperature is, and are wishing that they could go to a hotel, blast the air conditioner, and goon themselves to sleep. Shohei expresses how he wants to die out of boredom, but suddenly remembers that they have sports day coming, and tells Rintaro how much he wants to win it. However, to their shock, they find out from their teacher that they are not allowed to compete in the sports festival. When they ask him why, the teacher sternly tells them that whoever failed their midterm exams has to take makeup exams. Shohei begs the teacher to cut them some slack, and he agrees to buy them ice cream if they manage to get good grades and win during the sports festival. Back in class, Shohei starts tweaking, realizing that his dumb brain truly can't hack it. He desperately begs Saku to teach them, as he's the smartest of the bunch, but he refuses to do so after they all failed the year before, even with his tutoring. Ayato checks in on Rintaro's condition, and just like Shohei, he feels that he has already lost. He asks Ayato to help him out, but Ayato also tells Rintaro that he's as dumb as he is. Suddenly, Shohei declares that they don't need Saku's help and will study by themselves, and Saku challenges them to actually succeed without them. Just then, Rintaro gets a text message from his mother, Kyoko, who informs him that their store will be having a sale and that he should invite Kaoruko to come visit. There, Rintaro realizes that Kaoruko hasn't been coming to the store lately, but suspects that maybe she ran out of money. Then, in the middle of class, he anxiously writes an invitation to Kaoruko, and after thinking hard about it, he manages to send her the text message. He then waits for her to respond, but after hours, and after school ended, she still doesn't respond. Suddenly, she texts him back, saying that she can't come to the shop because she is busy, and he suddenly wonders why that makes him feel disappointed. Just then, Shohei pops up and invites him to the public library to study for the midterms. They waste no time hitting the books, studying to get better grades, but after studying for 10 minutes, Shohei's brain is cooked. As their only hope, Rintaro suggests to Shohei that he should apologize to Saku, who helped them study the year before. Shohei tells Rintaro that he actually feels awful for failing the test and wasting Saku's time the year before. Rintaro encourages Shohei to believe that Saku does care about them and that he wants them to experience sports day together. And after hearing something so kind from his mouth, Shohei wonders what happened to Rintaro. Shohei quickly stands up and tells Rintaro that he's going back to school to apologize to Saku and bring him back to the library, promising that they will all be there for the sports day. After Shohei leaves, Rintaro continues studying when two girls walk past, looking for an empty seat. Seeing this, Rintaro simply stands up and walks away, leaving the seat for them, and they realize that he did it for them, but it's too late to thank him. When Rintaro is about to exit the library, he hears someone mention Kaoruko's name, and when he looks to see who it is, he finds Kaoruko in the middle of studying with her friend, and realizes that she couldn't come to the shop because she was also too busy with her midterms. He watches the two girls silently and quickly hides when he almost gets caught. He continues to watch her with her friend, and is pleased to see her speak informally, unlike when she's with him. Right then, the friend mentions how amazing it is for Kaoruko to retain her spot as the smartest student of her class, and Rintaro listens in amazement, hearing firsthand how amazing Kaoruko really is. Then, he steps out of the library and sits outside to continue his studies. He reflects on Kaoruko being a top student, and sees how far he is from her by being the top idiot at his school. He then lies down to take a quick break, and after hearing Shohei's motivation, he makes it his mission not to fail the midterms. Just then, Kaoruko pops up, shocking Rintaro, and Kaoruko tells him that she saw him leaving earlier and knew it was him. While carrying her lunch, she tells him she's getting hungry, and being a gentleman, Rintaro scoots over so she can sit down. She apologizes for not going to his store's discount day and promises to come next time after saving up from her job. It surprises Rintaro to hear that, as he always thought that Kaoruko was a rich girl, but Kaoruko informs him that she's not rich and that she got into Kikayo through a scholarship, which is why she can't let her grades slip and fall from first place. However, she vents about how she has been sleep-deprived due to studying and pulling all-nighters. But she tells Rintaro that she's willing to go through all that, as she's nothing but a regular girl who comes from a regular family and manages to join a top school like Kikayo, which is why she has to work twice as hard as everyone. He then asks why she's willing to do that, and Kaoruko tells him how she begged her dad to let her join and promised herself to never betray him. And that becomes her own pride that she's willing to always maintain. It's here that Rintaro realizes even more how unfair he has been judging Kaoruko by assuming she was rich, which was something Rintaro would hate to happen to him. With full humility, Rintaro asks Kaoruko to teach him to study, as he doesn't want to fail again and not be with his friends. He nervously asks her to consider it, and Kaoruko offers him some food and tells him that when she has free time, she will help him study. Just then, one of Kaoruko's friends, Subaru, pops up, and Rintaro is in awe of her silver hair and terrifying glare. Without skipping a beat, Subaru sees that Rintaro is from Chidori and orders him to never breathe the same air as Kaoruko ever again. Kaoruko tries to calm her down, but suddenly, things get worse when Shohei and the others pop up and rush towards him when they see that he's surrounded by Kikayo students. It quickly turns hostile, with Subaru calling the Chidori students stupid apes, which Shohei doesn't appreciate. He calls her out for it, but when he sees Kaoruko, he recognizes her and gets close. But in that moment, Rintaro pulls him back while Subaru pulls Kaoruko back. Shohei doesn't understand why he was pulled back, while Rintaro is confused why his own body moved by itself. Subaru quickly takes Kaoruko with her away, saying that the Chidori students will probably affect her with an STD. But hearing that disrespect, Saku refuses to tolerate it and starts calling her every name under the sun, insulting Subaru's entire lineage, which affects Subaru. However, Rintaro saves the girls by stopping Saku, and he lies about how he was the one who approached Kaoruko to apologize for scaring her the other day. But both Shohei and Ayato are confused, as it was Shohei who scared her. Just then, Shohei approaches the girls, and to their surprise, he sincerely apologizes to Kaoruko for scaring her before. Kaoruko shocks everyone by bowing to Shohei and apologizing for making them all uncomfortable. Subaru tries to get her to stop bowing, but Kaoruko demands that she apologize to Rintaro before they leave. However, she refuses and walks away, and Kaoruko quickly bows one more time before following her. It leaves the boys conflicted after seeing how sweet and kind a Kikayo girl can be, but they all turn their attention to Saku, who stood up for them, and he expresses how he can't stand seeing his homies getting disrespected by some silver-haired hoe. Meanwhile, Subaru is scolding Kaoruko for apologizing to the Chidori boys, saying that they are all mindless apes. But when she remembers how Rintaro protected her from Saku's roast session, she starts doubting herself. So she asks Kaoruko what Rintaro is like during their small conversation. And when Kaoruko tells her that Rintaro was really kind, Subaru doubts his man-hating beliefs even more. Later, back home, Rintaro is forcing himself to study, even though his brain can't take it. Just then, Kaoruko calls him, and when he answers, he realizes how he's using his high-pitched voice to answer her. They both apologize for what happened in the library and promise that their friends are actually really nice. Then, after Rintaro protected her, she tells him that he was very cool, and Rintaro gets flustered, as no one has ever told him that. She then talks about when they should study together. But during it, Rintaro notices how she has always been extremely formal with him. So he asks her about it, and Kaoruko simply tells him that she is nothing but a customer at his shop, which disappoints Rintaro, who thought they had already gotten closer. However, he gathers his courage, and before the call ends, he tells her that she doesn't have to be formal around him anymore. While both are nervous, Kaoruko agrees to speak to him like a friend, and they hang up the phone. In that moment, Rintaro can feel his face heating up and wonders how Kaoruko reacted to what he asked of him. While on the other side, Kaoruko is smiling ear to ear the whole time, feeling flustered after the amount of riz Rintaro poured for her. Some days later, Rintaro wakes up early, feeling both anxious and excited, knowing that today is the day he's going to study together with Kaoruko. Then, he rides the train to meet her, where some girls ogle over how tall he is. When he looks outside, he sees the same scenery he sees every day, but on this day, it feels like a whole new city to him. He steps out, fully realizing that he's early, but to his surprise, Kaoruko is already there waiting for him, greeting him with a smile, and upon closer inspection, he realizes just how cute she really is. Then, they chill in a cafe, one that Kaoruko had wanted to visit for a long time, and she enjoys every bite of the food there, all the while Rintaro watches. He recalls how Kaoruko always looks the happiest when she eats, but when he takes a bite, he tastes how delicious it is. Then, they start their study session, beginning with math. When Rintaro wants to show Kaoruko a question in his book, she leans in extremely close, and they realize how close they are before quickly separating themselves from each other. It makes them both flustered, and despite their best efforts, they struggle to study. Just then, Kaoruko asks Rintaro why he doesn't want to fail, and he tells her that he wants to experience the sports festival alongside his friends. She suddenly asks him if he loves his homies, and he gets surprised by her question. But after thinking briefly, he tells her that he does love them. She relates to him through her friendship with Subaru, who, despite her cold exterior, Kaoruko assures is a good person. She adds that they are childhood friends, and Subaru just had issues with boys from the past. Hence why it makes Kaoruko happy when Rintaro doesn't trash-talk Subaru the other day. Afterward, before they go to their homes, Kaoruko hands Rintaro a special notebook she made for him to study. And while he's worried that he might be burdening her, she assures him that they're in this together and she wants him to enjoy his sports festival with his homies, which she's looking forward to hearing about. Then, Kaoruko goes home, leaving Rintaro feeling motivated for his exams, but as he's about to leave, someone grabs him, and when he looks back, he sees that it's Subaru, who wants to talk privately with him. They sit down at a cafe, and despite not talking, Rintaro already feels uncomfortable. From out of nowhere, Subaru asks him if he's dating Kaoruko, and he drops his hot coffee out of surprise, which burns his hand. Subaru hands him a handkerchief for it, and realizes just how different she's acting compared to before. She asks again if he's dating Kaoruko, and he assures her that he's not. She then asks him what he is to Kaoruko, and he doesn't know how to answer her, as he might not even be Kaoruko's friend. Seeing his confusion, she suspects that they only met recently, and Rintaro tells her that it is true. She feels relieved, knowing they're not that close, and asks Rintaro to avoid Kaoruko from now on. He tries to reason with her that, despite him being from Chidori, it doesn't mean that he's a freaky, degenerate dude, but Subaru assures him that she already knows that after seeing how he defended her, even after she insulted him and his friends. She adds that it will be dangerous for Kaoruko if people from her school see that she's around a Chidori student, especially since Kikayo teachers hate Chidori and that she has a scholarship there. Suddenly, a stupid little kid falls in front of them, and while Rintaro tries to help, Subaru acts faster and helps the kid first, handing him his toy and getting a thank you. The kid tells Subaru that her hair color is so cool, and it reminds Subaru of the past. She tells Rintaro that she used to get bullied because of her hair color, but Kaoruko was the first one who praised her and defended her. From then on, she became Subaru's hero and best friend, so Subaru is willing to do anything to protect her, even if it means that Kaoruko hates her. With full humility, Subaru begs Rintaro to stop meeting Kaoruko. That reminds Rintaro of how his friends and Kikayo girls hate each other, but because Kaoruko doesn't, and she wants to get to know him better, he rejects Subaru's request, leaving him in that cafe, feeling conflicted and like a fool. knowing that in front of Rintaro, Kaoruko was able to smile the brightest. On the train ride home, Rintaro reflects on how amazing Subaru is to care about someone that much, which makes him wonder if he ever felt that way for someone. Just then, two girls step onto the train, looking for seats, and Rintaro selflessly stands up to give up his seat. However, the girls call him up, reminding him of how he gave up his library seats for them as well, and thank him for it. He doesn't expect that they would ever thank him, especially because he looks scary. But it reminds him of how Kaoruko is the same way, always thanking him for something, and he can see how she, as a person, is able to save Subaru from a dark place. The next day, at school, the teacher announces the test results, and the mood is tense. But to their surprise, he announces that both Rintaro and Shohei passed the test, prompting the class to celebrate the success of the class's biggest idiots. Rintaro expresses how happy he feels, and the whole class cries tears of joy for him. They all give credit to Saku for tutoring them, and the boys thank him. But in his mind, Rintaro feels grateful to Kaoruko. But as he's about to text her, he remembers what Subaru said and stops. Suddenly, due to celebrating too hard, Saku walks into Rintaro's desk, causing his books to fall. But when Saku looks down, he sees the notes Kaoruko gave Rintaro, sees her name on it, and asks Rintaro what it is. Shohei reads the name on the notes, which reads Kaoruko, and before he says anything more, Rintaro takes the note from him forcefully. They all hear Shohei saying her name and recognize her as the girl from the library, the one protected by the silver-haired girl, whom Rintaro coincidentally stumbled on. But now, they don't think it's a coincidence anymore. Saku interrogates Rintaro about it, asking him why he didn't say anything to them, quietly realizing why he has been acting weird all this time, even defending the Kikaiwu girls at one point. Saku asks him once more why he didn't tell his friends anything, and Rintaro coldly tells Saku that he simply doesn't want to talk about it. Saku tries to ask more, but their teachers stop them, thinking they're fighting over something, and tell them to start the class. Shohei quickly pulls Saku away, while Rintaro apologizes to Ayato for taking the note from him, but Ayato calmly assures him that it's okay. Back home, Rintaro realizes he screwed up by mixing Kaoruko's notes with his own books. But remembering how Kaoruko helped him pass the test, he wants to thank her. Then, while Kaoruko is in the middle of studying, Rintaro sends her a text message, thanking her for the tutoring. She sends him a message back, congratulating him for passing and wishing him the best of times with his friends for the sports festival, one he realizes might not happen after what just happened. The next day, Shohei and Ayato are in panic mode, seeing Rintaro and Saku so far and distant from each other, realizing their dream to enjoy the sports festival together is slipping away. Ayato encourages Shohei not to give up, so Shohei tries to invite them both to baseball practice, but when they both reject his invitation, he is left depressed and heartbroken. However, after school, when Saku is on his way home, Ayato and Shohei jump him and ask him to hang out to talk. Saku tells him they have nothing to talk about, but the guys call out his lies on the spot, knowing he wants to say something. Saku walks ahead and expresses how angry he is, and the others expect that he's angry that Rintaro hangs out with the Kikaiwu girls. But to their surprise, Saku expresses to them that what makes him angry is that he wants to get closer to Rintaro and be there for him. But Rintaro himself is stopping him from doing so. However, Shohei has a different perspective and says that what makes Rintaro so cool is how he does things that make people thankful to him, without realizing it, and that they are the only ones who know that. Then, Ayato points out to Saku how, unlike before, Rintaro was willing to express his feelings this time, which is a first for them and makes Ayato happy. So Ayato chooses to believe that when the time is right, Rintaro himself will come to them and tell them how he feels when he's ready. That gives Saku a little hope, and they head off for some ramen. Meanwhile, in the cafe, Kayoko notices how her son is looking gloomy, so she asks him about it and suspects that he failed his tests again. When Rintaro informs her that he didn't fail a single test, Kayoko gets shocked, thinking that her son is on crack during the test, but he assures her that he avoided failing the test fair and square. Just then, Kaoruko pops into the cafe, and Rintaro quickly hides from her, hearing how Kaoruko wants to have some cakes. She tells Kayoko how she is craving something sweet at certain times, which reminds Kayoko of her son, but Rintaro quickly shushes his mother to avoid getting caught. Kayoko pulls Rintaro to Kaoruko's site to reveal him. and tells his idiotic son that he was hiding in front of a see-through mirror. Kaoruko is surprised to see him there, embarrassed that he heard about her cravings, but Kyoko plays the wingman and orders Rintaro to take Kaoruko's order while she cleans the kitchen. Then, while picking what to order, Kaoruko remembers something and lifts both her arms, telling Rintaro to give her high fives for passing the test and getting his long-awaited sports festival. But that reminds Rintaro of what happened, and he high-fives Kaoruko without any excitement, which makes her realize that something is wrong. Despite not knowing what happened, Kaoruko tries to help him by advising him to eat more whenever he's feeling down. But when she starts stuttering her words, Rintaro starts laughing freely, seeing how hard she's trying for him. It relieves Kaoruko to see him laugh like that, and when she smiles at him, Rintaro feels the flowers of love blooming inside his soul. When Kaoruko leaves, she promises to come back, leaving Rintaro love-struck, realizing how amazing Kaoruko is to be able to clear his worries. He realizes that from his meeting with Subaru, he rejected what Subaru asked, not because he simply respected Kaoruko, but it's because of something more, a stronger emotion within himself. After closing the cafe, Rintaro finds his mother preparing a feast for dinner, and when he asks her the occasion, she tells him that it's to celebrate his passing the exams, which she didn't believe at first. She asks to see his grades, and when she sees them, she is taken aback with joy. Rintaro tells her that he barely passes, but Kyoko tells him that since he was little, Rintaro was used to giving up easily. But seeing that he now has the fighting desire to achieve something, she feels the utmost joy for it. She tells him how happy she is that he has managed to find a reason to fight, but calls out how he is still struggling with it, which surprises him, and Kyoko reminds him that a mother's instinct is strong. She adds how proud she is to see his progress as a person, knowing that while he sometimes overthinks things, he is also a person who figures out what actually matters to him, which is why Kyoko feels happy, as she can see how Rintaro is also happy with what's important to him. Meanwhile, on her way home, Kaoruko can feel her heart fluttering after seeing Rintaro laugh so freely, realizing how cute he can be, which she likes to see more deeply. She looks at Rintaro's texts, hoping he will text more, but suddenly gets a text from Subaru, asking to meet up. Elsewhere, in a random park, Subaru is in her emo mode, sitting alone, recalling her friendship with Kaoruko when Kaoruko herself pops up. Subaru notices her clothes and asks if she went anywhere, and Kaoruko admits that she did. Kaoruko then switches her attention to the playground, the same one where they meet, which brings back memories. Kaoruko asks Subaru what she needs to talk about, and in a shift of mood, with intensity, Subaru admits to Kaoruko that she met with Rintaro behind her back. In her own head, Subaru always saw Kaoruko as a blooming blue flower, who is a hero to her. She recalled how Kaoruko once fell at the playground after hanging upside down, and Subaru was crying out of worry for her, but Kaoruko still smiled and calmed her down. For the longest time, Subaru always wished she were as strong as Kaoruko, but now she realizes she's nowhere near and tells Kaoruko everything from how she saw her at a cafe with Rintaro, to how she told Rintaro to stay away from Kaoruko. She apologizes deeply for what she did, realizing she hurt Kaoruko. But to her surprise, instead of being angry, Kaoruko tells her how she knows she has been causing pain to her and apologizes to Subaru for making her worry all the time, calling her kind for caring so much. That triggers something inside Subaru, asking herself why Kaoruko is even apologizing to her. But what's worse, she realizes that she's nothing but scum of the earth. For days, after she confronted Rintaro, Subaru has been anxious that Kaoruko would start hating her for what she did. But seeing how joyful she was, Subaru realizes that Rintaro never told Kaoruko that she tried to break them apart. However, the guilt started eating her alive from the inside, so she decided to tell Kaoruko the truth. But after coming clean, Kaoruko didn't hate her at all, and Subaru felt horrible for even being relieved by that. Suddenly, she starts crying, deeply realizing that despite her growing taller and acting strong, she is still the same old coward who cried a lot. While choking in her own tears, Subaru apologizes for causing trouble to Kaoruko. But in the darkness, Kaoruko opens her eyes to the light and calmly invites her to play like the old days. Kaoruko starts by playing on the monkey bars like she used to, offering Subaru to join her. Once she manages to calm Subaru down, Kaoruko reveals that on the day she fell on her face, it felt horrifically painful. But she didn't cry because when she got up, she saw Subaru crying for her and begging her not to die, saying that she's willing to take her pain from her like she's Zorro. It surprised Kaoruko so much that she forgot how to cry. But moments like that were what made Kaoruko know that Subaru is a kind person. Subaru refuses to be called that and only sees herself as a burden to her. But Kaoruko has had enough and tells her that it's painful to see her put herself down like that, when she knows that she is indeed a kind person. With conviction, Kaoruko tells her that she always watched Subaru closely, and she always sees the kindness in her firsthand whenever she is by her side. While hugging her, Kaoruko begs Subaru not to deny the kind-hearted Subaru that she knows and cherishes. That makes Subaru cry, and Kaoruko assures her that until the day that Subaru is able to accept and love the real, kind-hearted version of herself, Kaoruko promises that she will remind and tell her that she loves her. Those words remind Subaru of how Kaoruko has always been like this, so she hugs Kaoruko and asks her what she wants to do with Rintaro, fully trusting her to do the right thing. Kaoruko tells her that she still wants to see Rintaro, and Subaru can still see how happy she looks whenever she's with him. Then, she whispers and asks if Kaoruko likes him, and while imagining his warmth, she admits that not only that she likes him, but she also loves him fully. After hearing that, Subaru informs Kaoruko that when she told Rintaro to stay away, Rintaro refused to back down from meeting Kaoruko, and that makes Kaoruko extremely happy to hear. Subaru then hugs her hero tighter, and knowing that Kaoruko loves her for who she is, she believes that one day, she can believe in what Kaoruko says about her, and stand beside her proudly as someone kind, like two flowers blooming with dignity. Afterward, they walk home together, and Kaoruko is shocked when Rintaro texts her, asking for Subaru's contact number. On the other side, Rintaro is heavily anxious, thinking that he needs to speak to Subaru some more after what happened last time. Just then, Kaoruko calls him, and when he answers, he first apologizes to Kaoruko for not answering her texts. He then tells Kaoruko that she needs to speak with Subaru. But without warning, Kaoruko giggles and hands the phone over to Subaru, which scares him. They get talking, and Rintaro asks her to talk about something, but Subaru asks him to meet instead. The next day, Rintaro meets up with Subaru, both still in their school uniform. But when Rintaro points that out, Subaru simply brushes it off and thanks him for worrying about that. Then, without hesitation, Rintaro asks Subaru what he must do to get her blessing and let him meet Kaoruko. Subaru reminds him that she's not Kaoruko's mom, but Rintaro expresses how he understands just how much she cares about Kaoruko, and that it might trouble Kaoruko if he meets her. But he still wants to meet her, so he asks Subaru again what he has to do so she'll be okay with that. Subaru doesn't answer and reminds him how he already decided to continue seeing Kaoruko, but Rintaro fully understands why Subaru did what she did, as he knows just how much Kaoruko meant to her, so he needs Subaru's answer. In that moment, Subaru realizes that the man Kaoruko loves is a big softie, and it makes her feel guilty that she was so horrible to a gentle giant like him. She starts laughing at how cruel she was to him, and reveals to him that she told Kaoruko everything about their meeting at the cafe, which makes him flustered, knowing how he claimed that she wouldn't stop seeing her. Subaru then tells Rintaro that as long as he meets Kaoruko far from school, she can feel at ease, knowing that nobody knows about their relationship. Suddenly, Rintaro gets cracked by a football, and the little jit they met at the cafe pops up, and he recognizes them as the people who helped him. They return his ball, and the little jit points out how close the two of them are, which is far from the truth. But the kid refuses to accept that they're not close, pointing out how they are talking leisurely like friends. After the kid leaves, Subaru tells Rintaro that while they are currently not friends, one day, when she finally loves herself, she would like to be his friend, and that shocks Rintaro. He reminds her of their school's rivalry and asks her if anything happened to her after their previous meeting, but Subaru simply smiles and tells Rintaro that it's a secret. Later that day, Rintaro checks his phone and finds the group chat with his homies as silent as a graveyard. He suddenly recalls the previous day where Saku asked about the note Kaoruko left, but he dismissed him by bluntly saying he doesn't want to talk about it. Now in the present, he blames himself when suddenly he receives a text from Kaoruko asking how his meetup with Subaru went. The two start texting one another and Rintaro quickly forgets everything about his childhood friends. wanting to appear more gentlemanly. He apologizes to Kaoruko for having a conversation with Subaru behind her back, but she tells him to relax and expresses that she is actually happy he met with her best friend. The next day at the school's backyard, Shohei declares to Ayato and Saku that something is terribly wrong with Rintaro. They ask what he is on about, so he points at Rintaro playing baseball and missing every catch and every hit. With the evidence quite clear, Shohei reveals that while Rintaro has a room temperature ick when it comes to education, he is surprisingly good at sports, so it's weird seeing him act so clumsy on the field. His friends agree in unison, but tell Shohei he might be reading too much, but the buffoon refuses to let the matter go and states that their friend was acting strangely during class as well. When he asked him if something was bothering him, Rintaro nervously told him that everything was just peachy. Uninterested, his friends agree to shut him up, but Shohei, being Shohei, convinces them to stalk Rintaro so they can find out what's troubling him. Now, as they creepily follow him, Shohei urges Saku to just stop being a wussy and apologize to Rintaro already. Ayato adds on, stating that both Rintaro and Saku are equally stubborn, prompting Shuhei to agree. Resuming their stalking, the trio of idiots are extremely shocked to see their scary friend meet up with the baddies of Kikayo Academy. Settling down in a cafe, Rintaro apologizes to Subaru and Kaoruko for calling them out to meet him. But Kaoruko eagerly assures him that she is very happy to meet him. Her excitement doesn't go unnoticed by Subaru, who thinks her friend is too obvious about her crush. Meanwhile, in another booth, Shohei crashes out seeing Rintaro hoard all the huzz while Ayato, uninterested as ever, wonders what he should eat. Saku panics and tries to hush the two morons, but Shohei continues to loudly complain how it's not fair that Rintaro is getting all the action. Sighing, Saku wonders out loud why Subaru out of everyone would hang out with Rintaro when she made her dislike for Chidori boys loud and clear. Suddenly, their ears perk up as Subaru addresses Rintaro, asking why he called them to the cafe. So, conjuring up his courage, Rintaro states that he wants to tell his friends about his new friendship with them. Confused, Subaru asks why, and he reveals it's because he hates keeping secrets from his homies. He then shares that for the longest time, he had no connection with others due to his looks, but it all changed when he joined Chidori and met his gang of gooners that never left his side. Initially, he thought they were all weirdos, but soon they turned into his precious friends who he simply could not replace. And so for the first time, he felt he belonged somewhere. Once Rintaro is done revealing his reason, he thanks Kaoruko for helping him out with his exam, expressing how acing it made him realize that he didn't want to give up. That's why he wants to work hard to cherish his friendships. However, knowing the consequences, Rintaro apologizes to the girls, knowing that it could risk their reputation, but to his pleasure, Kaoruko smiles and says that she would be happy to get to know his friends. Subaru also chimes in, stating that as long as Kaoruko is fine with it, then she is as well. Hearing their responses, Rintaro becomes extremely grateful, while in the next booth, his friends grow silent. That night, he walks the girls to the station when Subaru suddenly asks Rintaro if he could introduce his friends sooner to them, as she would like to apologize for her rudeness. He replies back with a smile, assuring her that he'll make an introduction soon. All of a sudden, a group of boys looking like trouble address Rintaro. The leader casually tells him that he is sorry for the trouble caused by his juniors. However, since he doesn't know them, Rintaro asks who they are when Kaoruko tells him to look at the bushes, where he spots the two delinquents who tried to attack Kaoruko. Putting two and two together, they realize the two cowards must have complained to their seniors about what happened, so now they are here trying to intimidate them. However, Rintaro tries to calm the situation, so he tells the upperclassmen that he doesn't want to fight and tries to walk away when he finds more goons circling them. The leader then mockingly tells Rintaro that he won't let him leave like that, especially when he messed with his juniors for no reason. Suddenly, Kaoruko speaks in defense of Rintaro, stating that he isn't the kind of person who'd feed people knuckle sandwiches for no reason. However, this only pushes the delinquents to bother them further. Rintaro, being a mega simp, quickly shields the girls and tells the bad guys to deal with him alone. The leader, of course, refuses, expressing his intentions of having fun with the girls when suddenly, one of his boys starts to touch Subaru's hair. As she shivers in fear, Shohei arrives warning the guy to not touch Subaru. Rintaro is shocked to see his friends, who urge him to take the girls away from here. He obeys, but before leaving, he swears to them that he'll share everything with them soon. Once they leave, Saku ignores the upperclassmen and goes straight towards the boys who caused the mischief. He warns them by saying if they keep this up, he'll knock up their moms and give them kids they're actually proud of. This ticks the silver-head loser, who proudly reveals that they were the ones who injured Rintaro. Hearing this, Ayato drops his bag and walks towards the delinquents. Meanwhile, at the station, Rintaro apologizes to the girls, who reassure him that everything is fine. Suddenly, he gets a call from Ayato, who informs him that they're all okay and are returning home. Back at the park, the guys lift up Ayato's nuts since he single-handedly took down all the bad guys. Ayato eats up the attention, but then warns the delinquent to never disrespect Rintaro again. At the sports festival the next day, the guys cheer for Rintaro, who continues to mess up the game. He excuses himself, realizing he can't focus until he talks to his friends. Luckily for him, they arrive, allowing him to apologize for his behavior. Shuhei, being an idiot, carelessly states that he is just glad they decided to follow him. Suddenly, realizing his mistake, Shohei grabs Ayato and runs off, while Saku is left to apologize to Rintaro for being mean to him. Hearing this, Rintaro tries to apologize himself, but Saku shuts him up, stating that he just wants him to know that he fully trusts him from the bottom of his heart. After resolving everything with his friends, Rintaro makes a home run and secures the victory for his friends. As they all cheer for him, Rintaro allows himself to smile without shame. After the game, Shohei cries like a big wussy for being the cause of their failure. The boys try to lift his spirits by reassuring him that there will always be a next time, but Shuhei continues to cry until the friendly old lady selling ice creams bribes him with some yummy takoyaki just so he could shut up. Suddenly, Rintaro receives a text and asks his friends if they are free. Seconds later, they all arrive at the park, where Rintaro formally introduces his gang of dorks to Kaoruko and Subaru. Kaoruko then apologizes for calling them out of the blue, but the boys assure her that it's all cool. To break the ice, Shohei informs the girls that they had their sports day where they came second. Meanwhile, seeing the two talk, Rintaro admits that it's amazing how Shohei and Kaoruko can talk to each other without any awkwardness. Ayato whispers to Saku, wondering why they are so far from their school, so Saku reveals to him that it's because they don't get spotted hanging out with Kikayo High. Suddenly, Kaoruko clears her throat and confesses that she and Subaru called them here to thank them for their help yesterday with the goons. Saku stays quiet while the two idiots assure them that it was nothing. Kaoruko then passes them a bag of snacks as a thank you gift, which brings Shuhei to tears once again. He loudly calls Kaoruko an angel sent from heaven and asks if he can go down on the snacks. Suddenly, Subaru gets up and states that at the library she targeted them for simply being students of Chidori, and for that she is truly sorry. Shohei nervously replies to Subaru that he can barely remember what she said to him, causing her to look at him in shock. Shuhei continues that a moron like him is used to the insults anyway, which makes Subaru tear up until Saku quietly apologizes to her for being a big fat meanie as well. She quickly tells him that it's fine when Kaoruko urges her to do what she had planned. Taking the signal, Subaru takes out a bag containing expensive sweets, which rattles the boy's mind. Rintaro even admits that the sweets look more expensive than all their organs combined. With all the snacks present, Shuhei announces they should have a party, and the boys urge the girls to join. Subaru, however, asks if she can really eat with them, given she is from Kikayo. In response, Shuhei tells her that they don't give a flying fudge about that sort of stuff. Ayato further adds that Rintaro already told them how her and Kaoruko are kind-hearted people, so she doesn't need to worry any longer. With that, Shuhei hands her a sweet, declaring that there won't be any more apologies from now on. As Subaru accepts the chocolate from Shohei, she asks herself why did she ever hate Chidori boys without knowing them. On their way back, Shuhei asks Subaru where she got such expensive sweets, so she joins them ahead while Rintaro and Kaoruko walk together behind. After taking in Kaoruko's beauty for a moment, Rintaro thanks her for helping him study and asks if she wants something in return. Kaoruko stops in her tracks and tells Rintaro that she'd like to go somewhere with him alone. The next day, Rintaro sweats like a pig and prays to his ancestors to help him not fumble this date with Kaoruko. Stepping off the train, he is shocked to see Kaoruko appearing from the same vehicle. Meanwhile, Kaoruko laughs at the coincidence and confesses that she has been really looking forward to this, causing Rintaro to blush. Arriving at the aquarium world, Kaoruko expresses to him that she hasn't been here in a long time. Rintaro then asks her if there is a special reason for coming here, so she reveals that she wants to see the dolphin show with him, but then goes on a ramble on how she wants to say hi to other fishes, then try on the rides and eat yummy food. Suddenly concerned, Kaoruko asks Rintaro if they will have the time to do all of that, which causes him to laugh. He assures her that they'll have time to do everything she wants, but Kaoruko points out they might not have the time to do what he wants, so Rintaro casually states that he just wants to spend time with her. Without another second, the couple head to enjoy the rides. Once they are done, they sit to eat when Rintaro again thanks her for helping a doofus like him pass. Kaoruko smiles and asks him how his sports day went. Rintaro happily reveals that he had a total blast. Pleased by his answer, Kaoruko then asks Rintaro to tell her about all the fun things he did, which takes him by surprise for a moment. He pours his heart out to her, and when it's time for the dolphin show, Rintaro excuses himself for a pee break. In the meantime, Kaoruko scrolls through the pictures she took with Rintaro. While inside the washroom, Rintaro wonders how Kaoruko can look extra cute today and replays her smiles in his head. After getting out, he spots Kaoruko hugging a crying girl. When he approaches them, she reveals that the girl is lost and asks if they can look for her parents together. Rintaro answers that while he doesn't have a problem, they might miss the dolphin show, but Kaoruko assures him that it's fine since she can't leave the poor child alone. Hearing this, Rintaro is impressed by how kind she is and watches her console Mika, the crying girl. Kaoruko then introduces Rintaro to Mika, who is visibly taken aback by how intimidating he looks, so he tries to smile, easing her tension. Kaoruko suddenly declares that she is going to find Mika's parents and asks Rintaro to stay back with Mika. Once she leaves, Rintaro sits down with Mika, who apologizes to him for interrupting their date. Blushing hard, he clarifies he's not dating Kaoruko, which makes Mika express her own dream of going on a date with a boy from her class. Rintaro smiles, wondering why this kid is having crushes when she should be obsessing over Cocomelon. Suddenly, Mika tells him that seeing her crush's smile fills her with happiness. This hits home, and for a moment Rintaro goes quiet when Kaoruko arrives with Mika's parents. While the family has a happy reunion, the father thanks them for helping Mika. Rintaro reassures him that he's just glad they were the ones to find her instead of Drake.
What?
Before leaving, Mika whispers to Rintaro that he and Kaoruko would make a solid couple, making him blush. Kaoruko then tells Rintaro that since the afternoon show ended, they should go home, but he asks her if she'd like to extend their day out and watch the evening show. Kaoruko excitedly says yes, and later the two enjoy the performance together when Kaoruko confesses that she had the best time. Seeing her happy, Rintaro realizes he can no longer avoid his feelings for her. The next day, Rintaro heads to school despite the pouring weather. Anyone who comes across him is instantly terrified of him and quickly makes space for him to walk ahead. In class, Shohei complains how the humidity has messed up his spikes and even his socks smell like someone's grandma. Agreeing with this, Ayato states he is really not vibing with the humidity and hopes the rainy season would just end already. However, Saku pointedly remarks the monsoon has unfortunately just started. Ayato then asks his friends about Rintaro's whereabouts, claiming he is late, when suddenly the door opens and the big dummy ends up bumping his head against the ceiling. Ayato nervously greets and asks him if he is okay, while Shohei adds that it probably sucks that he lost so many brain cells early in the morning. In response, Rintaro darkly greets everyone back, scaring his friends, who tell him his eyes look particularly menacing today. Rintaro asks them if it's really that bad, and they nod in unison when Saku changes the subject and asks why he is wearing his blazer since they were supposed to change into their summer uniforms today. Rintaro exclaims that he forgot, as Ayato reminds Saku that he is wearing a sweater. In return, he says that he is not an idiot like Rintaro. He simply finds the classroom air conditioner to be too cool for him. Ayato adds how Kikayo must have changed into summer uniforms as well, which somehow causes Rintaro to drop his books. His friends blankly look at him, pick his books, and whisper amongst themselves if something happened with Rintaro again. One of them reveals how he saw him eat his lunch with his chopsticks pointed backwards. Concerned, Ayato asks if they should just ask Rintaro what's cooking, but Saku stops him, stating that if Rintaro wanted to tell them, he would have. Agreeing with him, they decide to back off, and instead Shohei asks loudly if they are up for a boys' night out, but Rintaro remains lost in his thoughts, which are consumed by Kaoruko. He thinks to himself how he simply can't get her out of his head, which makes him emotional. Turning towards Kikayo, Rintaro finds himself wondering what Kaoruko must like to do in the mornings. Does she study or does she chat with Subaru and her other girlfriends to pass the time? Realizing he is obsessing over her again, Rintaro hides behind his desk in shame and tries to rationalize with himself that it's not something new to have Kaoruko studying in the building next to his. But nothing helps as he recalls their time at the dolphin show. Realizing his emotions are overwhelming him, suddenly, he hears Shohei calling him, which pulls him out of his trance. As he asks what's up, Shohei apologizes for startling him. He then reveals that they were all planning on visiting his place since they have never been there. However, when Rintaro doesn't reply, they all quickly assure him that if he is uncomfortable with it, then they can change location. Rintaro looks at his friends quietly, realizing that he has never ever talked about his family to them. Suddenly, he is pushed into the past where his classmates would gossip about how it doesn't suit him that his family owns a bakery. Yet in that moment, Rintaro reaches the conclusion that he can't let the past control him. In the meantime, Shohei grows worried and apologizes to Rintaro for mentioning his house, insisting they can just hang out at his place again. In return, Rintaro casually invites them to his place, surprising his friends who ask if it's really okay. Rintaro assures them it is, but he has to ask his parents first. Shohei smiles excitedly while Saku and Ayato look at each other with relieved faces. So when Saturday comes and his friends find themselves in Rintaro's family-owned bakery, Shohei asks him why he didn't tell them sooner, while Ayato gushes over how it's cool they have a bakery shop in the family. Seeing them look so excited, Rintaro is shocked as he blurts out a meek apology which nobody can hear since they are all busy looking at the cakes. This also pushes Rintaro to question his own fears when suddenly his mom enters and warmly welcomes them all. One by one, his friends introduce themselves while Rintaro remains in the background watching his friends butter up his mom. Saku, being the polite one, hands Kyoko a gift for imposing so suddenly, which she gracefully accepts and tells everyone she has made plenty of food for them. Observing this, Rintaro notes that his mother really looks happy when she orders him to show his friends around. Once the boys leave, Kyoko returns to the kitchen, informing her staff that she is leaving early today. That's when one of the workers points out how she looks happy, and she proudly reveals that her son brought over friends. The employees, while happy, remark that it's unusual, prompting Kyoko to reveal that it's actually the first time Rintaro brought friends. Suddenly, she hears a customer outside and goes to tend to them when her eyes widen in surprise. Meanwhile, the bums are amazed to see Rintaro's place, as they were expecting him to live in some gnarly basement. Shohei calls Saku and Ayato to look at Rintaro's baby pictures and are surprised to learn that he has an elder brother. Since it's all new, Rintaro finds it weird to have his friends over when his mother calls him. As he peeks to check on her, he is surprised to see Kaoruko and Subaru. Kaoruko apologizes for intruding while Rintaro, still in shock, asks what she is doing here. His mom informs him she was here to buy cake with Subaru, who shyly apologizes for the sudden intrusion. Kyoko then announces that since she knows they're all friends, they should just have lunch together. Upon being invited, Kaoruko asks Rintaro if it's really okay, but Shohei beats him to it and invites the girls. Saku reprimands him, reminding him this isn't his place, which makes his mother laugh. Turning to Subaru, Kyoko thanks her for being nice to Rintaro and tells her to relax, which makes Subaru a little easy. Meanwhile, Kaoruko apologizes to Rintaro again with the same smile she gave him in the aquarium, and it instantly makes him blush crazily. Seeing this, Kyoko smiles knowingly before leaving to get started on the lunch. Later on, while Rintaro's friends help Kyoko in the kitchen, Kaoruko fusses over her clothes and asks Subaru if she looks cute. Smiling at her, Subaru pats her head, assuring her she looks cute. Rintaro sneaks a glance at Kaoruko and ends up punching Saku in excitement. Once the food is prepared and they all dig in, Rintaro realizes his mom sure pulled a Gordon Ramsay today. As she leaves, Rintaro watches over his friends, realizing they are all having fun when Shohei asks him when he started dyeing his hair blonde. When he reveals it was in 7th grade, they all ask him why he chose to go all punk, including Kaoruko. Now slightly flustered, Rintaro reveals that he found piercings and blonde hair cool as a kid. Hearing this, his friends call him cute, prompting Rintaro to reveal that back then, changing his hair color was important to him. He goes into details about how when he was young, he had no friends, so his parents took him to a bakery owned by a foreigner to cheer him up. At first he wasn't into the cakes, but when he tried it, he instantly had a mouthgasm. That's when he peeked at the chef and saw how happy he looked, which made him wish for that kind of joy. And since the chef had blonde hair and piercings, he decided to imitate him. So when they were going back home, he told his family he wanted to dye his hair and have piercings. To his dismay, his mother gave him the permission, which made him cry since he had been denied so many things for so long. He then reveals that despite changing his hair, he only became more withdrawn from society, but by then he didn't care. Once he finishes and finds everyone quiet, he apologizes for making things awkward. Suddenly, Shohei asks if his personality changed from elementary school to now, and Rintaro reveals that nothing has changed, prompting his friend to say that the kids must have really bad judgment since he'd definitely want to be his friend. Kaoruko adds that she feels the same way as Shohei and then asks if she can serve him food. Rintaro thanks her, but unbeknownst to everyone, Kayoko quietly hears their conversation, recalling the moment she got piercings. When her husband asks if she's doing it for Rintaro, she recalls how her son cried about giving up on making friends, so when she saw how happy he looked that day, she made up her mind to support him all the way. With a smile, her husband prays that one day their son realizes how much she loves him. Kayoko in return tells him that she just wants her gentle boy to have people that'll welcome him with open hearts. In the present, she smiles seeing her house filled with laughter before announcing she has cake for everyone. Kaoruko and Shohei are instantly excited, and as she turns to leave, Rintaro rushes after her to thank her. Once he leaves, Kayoko wears her hat, overcome by happy emotions. A couple of days later, the gang gathers at a restaurant. Shohei, being the land whale of the group, instantly orders a large meal, while Kaoruko leans toward Rintaro for advice, causing Ayato and Saku to watch them with knowing smiles. Once everyone is done filling their bellies, Kaoruko announces it is time to start, but Subaru whispers for her to look at Shohei, who has already drifted off to a land of unicorns. Saku immediately starts slapping him while Rintaro explains to the girls that Shohei had been studying late into the night. Understanding his situation, Kaoruko gently tells the half-conscious Shohei that the restaurant has plenty of desserts, so they should set study goals and reward themselves with sweets after achieving milestones. Suddenly awake, Shohei's eyes light up like fireworks, shocking the boys at how Kaoruko is gentle parenting their grown friend. Turning to Rintaro, Kaoruko adds that he can ask her anything if his pea-brain fails to understand something. Appreciating her offer, Rintaro insists he wants to try studying on his own first. Kaoruko is surprised while Ayato reveals that Rintaro often studies during lunch breaks. Flustered, Rintaro yells at his friends for outing him, then nervously tells Kaoruko that while grateful, he feels bad relying on her for everything, and doesn't want to regress to his old self who sucked at studies. As they study, Shohei stares at Subaru's workbook, making her self-conscious. When she asks why he looks constipated, he points at her thick problem book and expresses his shock at how thin their school's version is in comparison. Seeing this, Ayato tells him to focus on his studies while Subaru internally recoils, realizing Shohei's thin book is the one she used years ago. A moment later, Rintaro turns to Kaoruko with a question but freezes at how beautiful she looks. When she asks if he needs something, he recalls moments when she had the same expression before snapping back and apologizing. Finding him cute, Kaoruko chuckles and explains the problem. Meanwhile, Subaru seeks her help but withdraws when she sees Kaoruko is busy. Shohei notices this and asks why she looks bothered. When Subaru shows him a problem she is stuck on, Shohei studies it for a minute, then darkly claims her book is filled with witch spells. That's when Saku steps in, asking Subaru to point at the question she is struggling with, and when she shows him the problem, he instantly solves it, shocking Shohei, who calls him a genius for handling a Kikayo-level problem. Ayato even questions why Saku is in a crappy school like Chidori when he's this smart. In response, Saku brushes it off when Subaru asks how he solved it so easily. Tired of the attention, he casually says there's only one way to solve it, making Subaru realize they've got a hot version of Einstein on their hands. Ayato seizes the moment, smiling as he declares Saku sucks at teaching. Both Saku and Shohei are flabbergasted. Looking to Rintaro for assurance, Saku instead hears him say that they are the ones at fault for not understanding his teaching style. Shohei quickly jumps in for damage control and tries to praise Saku, while Ayato keeps grinning like an evil chihuahua. Frustrated, Saku grabs Subaru's problem book, declaring he'll explain solutions, so they better listen. However, when he finishes and the girls only stare blankly, he realizes that he truly does suck at teaching. Embarrassed, he stands to leave, but his friends console him while Kaoruko calls for sweets, lightening the mood as even the waitress smiles at their antics. A few days later, test results arrive which causes Shohei to cry with joy, announcing he passed and won't have to retake exams in summer. Hearing this, Ayato congratulates him, causing Shohei to dance like a loon. Turning to Rintaro, Ayato also congratulates him for passing when suddenly, two boys grab Shohei and Rintaro, accusing them of betraying their pact to fail together. Seizing the moment, Shohei flexes, claiming he had an amazing teacher. The boys assume it was Saku and beg him for help, which only worsens Saku's wounded pride. Turning away, Saku frowns until Shohei jokingly says he's having man periods, making Saku swear at him. As their homeroom teacher enters, announcing summer break is near and tells them to have fun, a student notes it's the first time he said that. In return, the teacher explains that after months of knowing them, he knows they aren't the type to cause trouble. With that, he asks about their plans and smiles at their excitement, urging them to enjoy youth before their knees ache in their 30s. After class, the boys decide to plan a hangout. Shohei eagerly asks where, but when they can't decide, they turn to Rintaro, who suggests bowling. As they head out, his friends joke about wanting to be on his team. Ayato teases that he's popular, which makes Rintaro reflect on how he never imagined hanging out with classmates last year and realizes it all started after meeting Kaoruko. Just then, one of the boys spots Kikayo girls. Shohei almost outs their friendship by screaming their names, but thankfully Saku quickly silences him. Another boy remembers seeing Kaoruko at their school gate, but they quickly drop the subject and proceed ahead. Meanwhile, Shohei notices Rintaro staring longingly and bluntly asks if he's dating Kaoruko. Rintaro denies it, but when asked if he likes her, he blushes as red as a baboon's behind. Shohei remarks that his crush is obvious, while Ayato and Saku walk ahead to avoid the landmine. On the other hand, Shohei promises to help him if needed, but Ayato and Saku drag him away. Seeing how scared Rintaro looks, Ayato reassures him that his secret is safe with them. This makes him blush as he wonders if Kaoruko knows. At the bowling alley, Shohei goes first and cheers at his solid performance. When it's Saku's turn, his teammates hope he'll fail since he is so cool at everything he does. But to their disappointment, he plays flawlessly, making them all jealous. Rintaro, however, sulks and scores poorly despite his friends' cheers. Seeing this, the opposing team mocks them, claiming they'll win lunch. Embarrassed, Rintaro excuses himself for a drink, wondering why everyone assumes he's dating Kaoruko when he's just happy seeing her smile. Ayato checks on him, and Rintaro apologizes for letting them all down. However, Ayato reassures him it's fine to like Kaoruko, making him choke on his drink. Once calm, Rintaro nervously asks if he knows what dating means, forgetting his friend is also clueless, and when Ayato confirms he is a lonely virgin like him. He then warns him not to ask about dating in front of classmates, or they'll interrogate him. He quickly adds that nobody really knows what dating means and everyone rushes into it blind. Changing the subject, Ayato then says it's the first time Rintaro asked for help, and when Rintaro wonders if he's easy to read, Ayato smiles, saying everyone's just glad he's showing emotions. Relieved, Rintaro returns and plays well, prompting Ayato to declare payback time. Later, Rintaro reflects on how they beat Shohei's team and hopes to spend summer with Kaoruko. Just then, he receives a text from Subaru, revealing Kaoruko's birthday is coming soon. Are you as stupid as Shohei? Comment baboons behind if you want to know what happens next.